Elena activated a holographic display showing schematics of advanced weaponry and defense systems. We've learned much from our encounters with Zarlian technology. It's time we put that knowledge to use. I propose the formation of a global defense initiative, combining the best minds and resources from every nation. The council deliberated, voices rising and falling as the weight of the decision pressed upon them. In the end, the choice was clear. Earth had to unite or perish. Thus, the Earth Defense Coalition, EDC, was born. In the months that followed, the planet became a hive of activity. Factories that once produced consumer goods now churned out components for space-worthy vessels. Universities transformed into think tanks, with scientists and engineers working around the clock to unlock the secrets of alien tech. Elena found herself at the helm of this monumental effort, coordinating between military strategists, civilian researchers, and political leaders. The pressure was immense, but she drew strength from the unity she saw forming around her. Dr. Marcus Chen, the geologist who had first discovered europium, now led a team developing new energy weapons based on the element's unique properties. If we can stabilize the molecular structure, he explained to Elena during one of their frequent briefings, we'll have a power source that could rival a small star. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Aisha Kaur spearheaded the development of an advanced early warning system. By reverse engineering Zarlian communication devices, she created a network of faster-than-light sensors that extended far beyond the solar system. As Earth's defenses grew, so did its reach. The first human-built ships capable of faster-than-light travel rolled out of orbital shipyards. Elena watched with pride as the UES Defiant, Earth's new flagship, took its maiden voyage around the moon. But even as humanity prepared for war, Elena couldn't shake the feeling that they were missing something crucial. The Zarlians' betrayal had been too sudden, too complete. There had to be more to the story. Her suspicions were confirmed when Aisha burst into her office one day, eyes wide with excitement and fear. "Captain, you need to see this," she said, activating a holographic display. "We've intercepted a Zarlian transmission." The message was fragmented, distorted by distance and encryption, but what they could decipher chilled Elena to the bone. The Zarlians spoke of a grand design, a plan that went far beyond the conquest of Earth. They mentioned other species, other worlds that had fallen to their empire. They are not just coming for us, Elena realized. They're systematically conquering the galaxy. Armed with this new information, Elena called an emergency meeting of the EDC leadership. As she laid out what they had learned, she could see the shock and determination dawning on their faces. "We're not just fighting for Earth anymore," she concluded. "We may be the last line of defense for countless other worlds." The revelations spurred humanity to even greater efforts. If they were to have any hope of survival, they needed to take the fight to the enemy. Elena stood on the bridge of the Defiant, watching Earth shrink in the viewscreen as they prepared for their first foray into deep space. Her crew, the best and brightest Earth had to offer, worked with quiet efficiency around her. "All systems a go, Captain," Lieutenant Victor Rossi reported from his tactical station. "We're ready to make the jump to FTL." Elena took a deep breath, feeling the weight of history on her shoulders. "Let's show these Zarlians what humanity can do. Engage FTL drive." The stars blurred into streaks of light as the Defiant leaped into faster-than-light travel. Their destination, a Zarlian outpost on the edge of what used to be friendly territory. The battle that followed would go down in human history as the Axiom Offensive. The Zarlians, caught off guard by the sudden appearance of a human warship in their territory, scrambled to mount a defense. But Elena and her crew were ready. Weapons powered by europium-enhanced technology tore through Zarlian shields. The Defiant danced through enemy fire, its maneuvers guided by tactics that blended human intuition with computer precision. As the last Zarlian ship fell, Elena allowed herself a moment of grim satisfaction. "Send the signal," she ordered. "Let Earth know the mission was a success." The victory at Axon was just the beginning. As news spread throughout the EDC, a wave of hope swept across Earth. Humanity had taken its first steps into the galactic arena, and they had emerged victorious. As the first wave of Xarian ships entered Earth's orbit, Elena addressed her crew. "We stand at a crossroads in human history. The path ahead is fraught with danger, but we will not falter. We fight not just for our own survival, but for the right to forge our own destiny among the stars." The battle began with a blinding flash as the Xalian flagship unleashed a barrage of energy weapons. Earth's orbital defenses answered in kind, filling space with a deadly light show. Elena's voice rang out clear and confident. "All ships engage at will. Remember your training, trust in each other, and show these betrayers what humanity is capable of." The horizon surged forward, leading a squadron of Earth's finest into the heart of the alien Armada. Elena watched as her tactical officer, Lieutenant Victor Rossi, orchestrated a ballet of destruction. Human ingenuity paired with adapted alien tech proved a formidable combination. "Captain," Aisha called out, "we're receiving a transmission from the Xalian command ship." The viewscreen flickered to life, revealing the face of Admiral Zexkrol, Supreme Commander of the Xalian forces. His sensory tendrils writhed in agitation as he spoke. "Submit now, humans. Your primitive species is no match for the might of the Xalian Alliance. Surrender, and we may yet show mercy." Elena's eyes narrowed, her voice cold as space itself. "We trusted you. We welcomed you as friends, and this is how you repay us." She leaned forward, her gaze boring into the alien admiral. "Humanity does not surrender. We will fight you to our last breath if we must, and we will win." With a gesture, she cut the transmission. "All ships, press the attack. Target their flagship. Let's show them exactly what these primitives can do." The space around Earth became a maelstrom of fire and debris. Human ships, though outnumbered, fought with a ferocity that caught the Xarians off guard. For every Earth vessel lost, 2 alien ships fell. As the battle raged, Elena received word of a planetary defense system, a last-ditch effort by Earth's scientists. If they could hold out long enough, it might turn the tide. Hours stretched into days. The crew of the Horizon pushed themselves to the brink of exhaustion, snatching moments of rest between engagements. Elena felt the weight of command, of every life lost in this war they never wanted. Just when it seemed the human fleet might buckle under the relentless Xalian assault, a massive energy surge emanated from Earth. A shimmering barrier enveloped the planet, expanding outward at an impossible speed. The effect on the Xalian ships was immediate and devastating. Their wormhole drives overloaded, weapons systems failed, and one by one, they began to fall from orbit. Admiral Zexakrol's face appeared on the viewscreen once more, panic evident in his alien features. "What have you done? This is impossible." Elena allowed herself a grim smile. "You underestimated us, Admiral. A mistake you won't live to repeat. This is our home, and we will defend it with everything we have." As the remnants of the Xalian fleet retreated in disarray, cheers erupted across the human ships. But Elena knew this was only the beginning. The Xalians would return, and Earth needed to be ready. She turned to her crew, seeing the mix of exhaustion and determination on their faces. "Well done, all of you. But our fight is far from over. The Xalians will be back, and next time, they'll bring everything they have." Victor spoke up, his voice tired but resolute. "So what do we do now, Captain?" Elena's gaze turned to the stars, to the vast expanse that had once promised friendship, but now held untold dangers. "Now we prepare. We take the fight to them. It's time for humanity to show the galaxy what we're truly capable of." As the Horizon set course for Earth, Elena knew that the real battle was just beginning. Humanity had won its first victory, but the war for their place among the stars had only just begun. The resistance rises. The aftermath of Earth's victory against the Xalian invasion was far from a time of celebration. As the last alien ships disappeared into the inky blackness of space, humanity faced a stark reality. They were no longer alone in the universe, and their first cosmic neighbors had proven to be hostile. Captain Elena Reyes stood before the United Earth Council once again, her uniform bearing the scars of recent battles. The chamber, once filled with the excitement of alien cooperation, now thrummed with a different energy, determination tinged with fear. "The Zarlians will return," Elena stated, her voice carrying to every corner of the room. "And when they do, they'll bring a force that will make their first attack look like a scouting party." Chancellor Adebayo nodded gravely. "What do you propose, Captain?" But with this triumph came new challenges. The Defiant's sensors had picked up distress signals from a nearby star system, cries for help from another species under Zarlian attack. Elena brought the information back to the EDC Council. "We have a choice to make," she said, her voice solemn. "Do we focus solely on defending Earth, or do we extend our hand to other victims of Zarlian aggression?" The debate was heated, with valid arguments on both sides. Some argued that Earth couldn't afford to spread its resources thin. Others maintained that forming alliances was their best hope for long-term survival. In the end, it was Chancellor Adebayo who tipped the scales. "We entered this conflict because the Zarlians betrayed our trust and threatened our home," he said. "If we turn our backs on others in need, how are we any better?" And so, the Defiant set out once more, this time on a mission of mercy. They arrived in the Lyra system to find a desperate battle in progress. The Lyrans, a species of avian humanoids, were making their last stand against a Zarlian invasion fleet. Without hesitation, Elena ordered her ship into the fray. "All weapons, fire at will," she commanded. "Let's show the Lyrans they're not alone." The battle was fierce, but the element of surprise worked in humanity's favor. Zarlian ships, unprepared for an attack from behind, fell one by one to the Defiant's advanced weaponry. As the tide turned, Elena opened a channel to the Lyran flagship. "This is Captain Elena Reyes of the Earthship Defiant. We're here to help." The Lyran commander's image appeared on screen, his feathered crest raised in a mixture of hope and disbelief. You came to our aid? Why?" Elena's response was firm and clear. "Because it's the right thing to do, and because we have a common enemy. The Zarlians threatened our world too. We're here to propose an alliance." In the aftermath of the battle, as human and Lyran crews worked together to repair their ships, Elena couldn't help but feel a sense of purpose. This, she realized, was why humanity had looked to the stars for so long. Not just for exploration or resources, but for connection, for the chance to be part of something greater than themselves. As the Defiant prepared to return to Earth, now accompanied by Lyran ships, Elena addressed her crew. "What we've done here today marks a new chapter for humanity. We've proven that we can stand against the Zarlians. More than that, we've shown that we can be a force for good in this galaxy." She paused, looking at each of her officers in turn. "The road ahead won't be easy. The Zarlians are still out there, and they're more dangerous than ever. But we're not alone anymore, and together we have a real chance at victory." As if to underscore her words, a transmission came through from Earth. Aisha's eyes widened as she read the message. "Captain," she said, her voice filled with awe, "you're going to want to see this." The view screen lit up with images from across the planet. People were gathering in streets and squares, holding candlelight vigils and unfurling banners. The message was clear. Earth stood united, ready to face whatever challenges the galaxy might bring. Elena felt a swell of pride and determination. The Zarlians had sought to conquer Earth, to crush the human spirit. Instead, they had united humanity as never before, and now that unity was spreading to the stars. As the Defiant and its new allies entered Earth's solar system, Elena knew that this was just the beginning. The real war was yet to come, but for the first time since the Zarlian betrayal, she allowed herself to feel something she had almost forgotten. Hope. Counterattack. The return of the UES Defiant to Earth, flanked by Lyran vessels, marked a turning point in the war against the Zarlian Empire. As Captain Elena Reyes stood before the Earth Defense Coalition, the chamber buzzed with a new energy, a potent mixture of hope and determination. "The Lyrans are just the beginning," Elena declared, her voice carrying the weight of her recent experiences. "There are countless other species out there, all victims of Zarlian aggression. If we can unite them, we might stand a chance against the Empire." Chancellor Adebayo leaned forward, his eyes gleaming with interest. "You're proposing a galactic alliance?" Elena nodded, activating a holographic star map. "Exactly. The Zarlians have made many enemies. It's time we turned that to our advantage." The plan was ambitious, perhaps even foolhardy, but humanity had long since passed the point of playing it safe. Within weeks, a fleet of Earth's finest ships, led by the Defiant, set out on a bold mission to travel the stars, make contact with other species, and forge a coalition strong enough to challenge the Zarlian Empire. Their journey took them to worlds of wonder and horror. On the gas giant Nimbora, they encountered the Voltari, beings of pure energy who had been fighting a guerrilla war against Zarlian mining operations for decades. In the subterranean cities of Karax, they found the insectoid Sithka, a species whose advanced biotech had been suppressed by Zarlian overlords. With each new ally, humanity's understanding of the galaxy and the true extent of Zarlian crimes grew. Dr. Marcus Chen worked tirelessly, collaborating with alien scientists to combine technologies in ways never before imagined. Lieutenant Aisha Kaur's linguistic skills proved invaluable, helping to bridge gaps between vastly different species. But it was Lieutenant Victor Rossi who made perhaps the most crucial discovery. During a skirmish with a Zarlian patrol, he noticed a pattern in their attack formations. "It's like they're following a script," he explained to Elena. "Powerful, yes, but predictable." This insight led to a breakthrough in battle tactics. By anticipating Zarlian maneuvers, the Alliance fleet could outflank and outfight ships that, on paper, should have been superior. As word of the growing alliance spread, more species flocked to their banner. The Zarlians, for the first time in centuries, found themselves on the defensive. Elena stood on the bridge of the Defiant, watching as a combined fleet of human, Lyran, Voltari, and Sithka ships prepared for their most daring operation yet, a strike at the heart of a major Zarlian shipyard. "All ships report ready, Captain," Aisha announced, her voice tight with pre-battle tension. Helena took a deep breath, feeling the weight of countless lives, human and alien, resting on her shoulders. "Send the signal. Operation Firestorm is go." The battle that followed would be remembered as a turning point in the war. Alliance ships struck from multiple vectors, their attacks coordinated with a precision that caught the Zarlians completely off guard. European-powered weapons tore through enemy defenses, while Sithka biotechnology allowed damaged ships to repair themselves mid-battle. As the last Zarlian vessel fell, Elena allowed herself a moment of fierce pride. They had done it. They had struck a blow that the Zarlian Empire couldn't ignore. But their victory was short-lived. As the Alliance fleet regrouped, preparing to return to friendly space, a massive Zarlian battleship emerged from hyperspace. It dwarfed anything they had encountered before, its hull bristling with weapons beyond their comprehension. "Evasive maneuvers," Elena shouted, but it was too late. A beam of sickly green energy lanced out, cutting through Alliance ships like they were made of paper. In a matter of minutes, half their fleet was reduced to floating debris. As the Defiant shuddered under the assault, Elena made a difficult decision. "All ships, retreat. Get out of here now." They limped back to Alliance space, the massive Zarlian ship choosing not to pursue, as if demonstrating that it could have destroyed them at any time. The message was clear. The Zarlians had been holding back, and now the gloves were coming off. In the aftermath of the battle, as casualty reports poured in, Elena felt the crushing weight of command. She had led these beings into battle, and many of them would never see their homeworlds again. It was Dr. Chen who pulled her out of her spiral of guilt. "Captain," he said, his eyes alight with a mix of excitement and fear, "I think I know what that ship was. It's called a world breaker." He brought up schematics, pieced together from fragmented sensor readings and obscure Zarlian texts. It's not just a battleship, it's a mobile planet killer, capable of reducing entire worlds to ash. The implications were staggering. With such a weapon, the Zarlians could force entire systems into submission with mere threats. The Alliance, for all its gains, was suddenly faced with an existential threat. Elena called an emergency meeting of Alliance leaders. As representatives from a dozen species gathered, their faces grim and determined, she laid out what they knew about the World Breaker. "Make no mistake," she concluded, "this weapon changes everything. If we don't find a way to neutralize it, everything we fought for could be lost." The debate that followed was heated. Some argued for immediately striking at Zarlian core worlds, hoping to end the war before the World Breaker could be brought to bear. Others advocated for a defensive strategy, fortifying key systems and preparing for the worst. In the end, it was a Voltari elder who proposed a third option. "We cannot match the Zarlians in brute force, the being pulsed, its energy form flickering with each word. But perhaps we do not need to. If we could infiltrate the World Breaker, we might be able to sabotage it from within." The plan was audacious, borderline suicidal, but it offered a glimmer of hope. Elena volunteered to lead the mission herself, despite the protests of her crew and fellow leaders. "I started this," she said firmly. "I need to see it through." As preparations for the infiltration mission began, Elena found a quiet moment to record a message for Earth. Looking into the camera, she felt the full weight of her responsibility. "People of Earth," she began, "and all beings of the Alliance. What I'm about to do carries great risk, but even greater potential reward. Know that whatever happens, humanity has already achieved something remarkable. We've reached out to the stars and found not just conflict, but friendship. We've proven that different species, from different worlds, can stand together against tyranny." She paused, fighting back the emotion threatening to overwhelm her. "If we succeed, we'll have struck a blow for freedom that will resonate across the galaxy. If we fail, remember this moment. Remember that we stood up, that we fought back, and keep fighting. The Zarlians can destroy worlds, but they can never destroy the spirit that unites us." As she ended the recording, Elena turned to find her core crew, Aisha, Victor, and Dr. Chen, standing at attention. "We're coming with you, Captain," Aisha said, her voice brooking no argument. "You're not doing this alone." Elena looked at each of them, seeing the determination in their eyes. These weren't just her crew anymore. They were family. "All right," she said softly. "Let's do this. Together." The plan was set. Using a captured Zarlian shuttle and cutting-edge cloaking technology developed by the HFY, they would approach the World Breaker under the guise of a returning patrol. Once aboard, they would make their way to the ship's central power core and overload it, hopefully destroying the vessel from within. As they prepared to depart, the hangar bay of the Defiant was filled with allies from every species of the coalition. Lyran honor guards stood at attention, their feathers gleaming. Voltari pulsed in intricate patterns, a gesture of respect and hope. Sifka drones buzzed a melody that needed no translation, a prayer for safe return. Elena addressed the assembled beings one last time. "We go now to face our greatest challenge, but we do not go alone. We carry with us the hopes and dreams of countless worlds. Whatever happens, know that your unity, your courage, has already changed the course of history." With a final salute, Elena and her team boarded the Zarlian shuttle. As the hangar doors opened, revealing the star-studded expanse of space, she allowed herself one last look at the Defiant, at the fleet that represented the alliance they had forged. "Helm," she said, her voice steady, "set course for the World Breaker. It's time to end this war." The shuttle's engines flared to life, propelling them towards their destiny. As they accelerated away from the Alliance fleet, Elena felt a curious mix of fear and exhilaration. They were about to attempt the impossible, to strike at the very heart of Zarlian power. Win or lose, the next few hours would decide the fate of the galaxy. And humanity, once a species confined to a single world, now stood at the center of it all. The battle for freedom was about to reach its climax. The battle for freedom. The stolen Zarlian shuttle cut silently through the void, its occupants tense with anticipation. Captain Elena Reyes sat at the helm, her eyes fixed on the looming shape of the world breaker. The massive ship hung in space like a malevolent star, its hull bristling with weapons capable of reducing entire planets to ash. Approaching outer sensor range, Lieutenant Victor Rossi reported, his voice barely above a whisper. Kirking technology holding steady. Elena nodded, feeling the weight of countless lives resting on their shoulders. Asa, begin transmission of Zarlian identification codes. As they drew closer to the behemoth, the true scale of their mission became apparent. The World Breaker wasn't just a ship, it was a mobile fortress, a symbol of Zarlian dominance over the galaxy. My God, Dr. Marcus Chen breathed, staring at the sensor readouts. The energy readings from that thing, it's like looking at the heart of a star. Their moment of awe was interrupted by a harsh voice over the comms. Patrol vessel, identify yourself and state your purpose. Elena took a deep breath, activating the voice modulator they prepared. This is patrol ship Zex 159, returning from long-range reconnaissance, requesting permission to dock and resupply. Seconds stretched into eternity as they waited for a response. Finally, the voice returned. Permission granted. Proceed to docking bay 17. As they maneuvered towards the designated bay, Elena turned to her team. Remember the plan. We get in, make our way to the central power core, plant the charges and get out. Quick and quiet. The team nodded, their faces set with determination. They had trained for this, had run countless simulations, but the reality of infiltrating the most powerful warship in the galaxy was still daunting. As they docked, alarms suddenly blared throughout the ship. For a heart-stopping moment, Elena feared they had been discovered, but the announcement that followed brought both relief and a new sense of urgency. All hands to battle stations. Enemy fleet detected. This is not a drill. In the chaos of battle preparation, Elena and her team slipped into the corridors of the World Breaker. Using stolen Zarlian uniforms and forged identification, they made their way deeper into the ship. Meanwhile, outside, the Alliance fleet emerged from hyperspace. Led by the Defiant, now under the command of Elena's second-in-command, the combined forces of a dozen species engaged the Zarlian armada protecting the World Breaker. Back on the World Breaker, Elena and her team navigated through a labyrinth of corridors and security checkpoints. Dr. Chen's expertise proved invaluable as they bypassed complex security systems. ICE's linguistic skills allowed them to bluff their way past suspicious officers. As they neared the central power core, they encountered heavier resistance. Victor's combat training came to the fore as he expertly neutralized Zarlian guards, using non-lethal methods whenever possible. We're not here for revenge, Elena reminded them. We're here to end this war. Finally, they reached the massive chamber housing the World Breaker's power core. The sight that greeted them was both awe-inspiring and terrifying. A swirling vortex of energy, barely contained within a series of concentric force fields, pulsed with enough power to shatter worlds. My God, Marcus whispered, it's beautiful. Elena snapped them back to focus. Admire it later. We need to plant these charges and get out of here. As they worked to place the explosive devices designed to overload the core and destroy the ship from within, alarms suddenly blared. A voice echoed through the chamber, chilling in its familiarity. Did you really think you could fool us so easily, Captain Reyes? Elena's blood ran cold as she recognized the voice of Admiral Zexkrol, the Zarlian commander she had faced in Earth's orbit so long ago. Zarlian troops poured into the chamber, surrounding Elena and her team. Admiral Zexkrol entered, his multiple eyes gleaming with malicious triumph. I must admit, I'm impressed by your audacity, the Admiral said, his voice a mix of clicks and hisses. Infiltrating the pride of the Zarlian fleet. Truly, you humans continue to surprise us. Elena stood tall, facing the Admiral. It's over, Zexkrell. Your empire of fear and oppression ends here. The Admiral laughed, a sound like grinding glass. Oh, but it's only beginning, Captain. With the World Breaker, we will crush your pitiful alliance and remind the galaxy why the Zarlian Empire has ruled for millennia. As Zexkrell gloated, Elena caught sight of Victor slowly reaching for his weapon. She gave an almost imperceptible shake of her head. Not yet. Why? Elena asked, buying time. Why conquer? Why not cooperate, build something greater together? Zexkrell's expression shifted, something almost like regret crossing his alien features. You don't understand. We conquer because we must. The universe is cruel, Captain. Only the strong survive. We learned that lesson long ago, at great cost. For a moment, Elena glimpsed the weight of history behind the Admiral's words, the fear that drove the Zarlian Empire to such lengths. But then the moment passed, and Zexkrell's eyes hardened once more. Enough talk. You and your team will witness the destruction of your alliance before we execute you. As Zexkrell turned to give orders, Elena caught Victor's eye and nodded. In one fluid motion, he drew his weapon and fired, not at the Zarlians, but at the power core's containment field. The shot pierced the outermost barrier, causing a cascade of alarms. Energy began to arc wildly around the chamber. Now, Elena shouted. Her team sprang into action. Asa activated a personal shield generator, creating a bubble of protection around them. Marcus threw a handful of small devices, experimental teleportation beacons developed by the Voltari. Chaos erupted in the chamber. Zarlian troops fired wildly, their shots absorbed by Aisha's shield or deflected by the increasingly unstable energy field around the core. Zexkrell bellowed orders, trying to regain control of the situation. Elena locked eyes with the Admiral one last time. You're right, Zexkrell. The universe can be cruel, but it can also be beautiful if we choose to make it so. With that, the teleportation beacons activated. Elena and her team vanished in a flash of light, leaving behind a scene of pandemonium. They rematerialized in their shuttle, still docked in the hangar bay. Alarms blared throughout the World Breaker as the ship began to tear itself apart from within. Get us out of here, Elena ordered as they scrambled to their stations. The shuttle burst from a hangar, narrowly avoiding debris as explosions rocked the massive ship. Behind them, the World Breaker began to implode, its hull crumpling like paper as the uncontained energy of its power core consumed it from within. As they raced away from the dying Colossus, Elena opened a channel to the Alliance fleet. This is Captain Reyes. Mission accomplished. The World Breaker is destroyed. All ships, retreat to safe distance immediately. The response was immediate. Alliance ships disengaged from battle, jumping to hyperspace even as the Zarlian fleet fell into disarray. From the safety of distance, Elena and her team watched as the World Breaker, pride of the Zarlian Empire, collapsed in on itself before exploding in a blinding flash of light. The shockwave rippled through space, scattering the remains of the once mighty vessel across the star system. As the light faded, a stunned silence fell over the comms. Then, gradually, cheers began to erupt. Ships across the Alliance fleet celebrated, their crews realizing the magnitude of what had just been accomplished. Elena slumped in her seat, exhaustion and relief washing over her in equal measure. They had done it. They had destroyed the World Breaker and dealt a crippling blow to the Zarlian Empire. As they made their way back to the Alliance fleet, Elena knew that the war wasn't over. The Zarlians would not go quietly into the night. But for the first time since the conflict began, she allowed herself to truly believe that they could win. The shuttle docked with the Defiant, and as Elena and her team stepped onto the bridge, they were met with a standing ovation. Crew members from a dozen species cheered, their differences forgotten in this moment of shared triumph. Elena raised her hand, calling for quiet. What we've accomplished here today is nothing short of miraculous. But our work is far from over. The Zarlian Empire is wounded, but not defeated. We must press our advantage, not just to win this war, but to build a better galaxy in its wake. She looked around at the diverse faces of her crew, human, Lyran, Voltari, X, and more. We've proven that we're stronger together than we ever were apart. Let that be the foundation of whatever comes next. As the Defiant set course for Alliance space, carrying news of their victory, Elena allowed herself a moment of quiet reflection. The path ahead was uncertain, filled with challenges yet to come. But they had taken the first step towards a free galaxy, and they had done it together. The battle for freedom had been won. Now, the work of building a lasting peace could begin. The Defiant slipped into hyperspace, leaving behind the scattered remnants of the World Breaker. As the adrenaline of battle faded, the reality of their accomplishment began to sink in for Elena and her crew. In her quarters, Elena sat at her desk, composing a message to Alliance High Command. She detailed the mission's success, the destruction of the World Breaker, and the current state of the Zarlian fleet. As she wrote, she couldn't help but reflect on the long journey that had brought them to this point. Years of struggle, sacrifice, and loss had led to this moment. Friends and comrades lost along the way, their faces flashed through her mind. Elena paused in her writing, taking a moment to honor their memory. Their sacrifices had not been in vain. A chime at her door interrupted her thoughts. "Enter," she called out. Her first officer stepped into the room. His feline features were set in an expression of determination. "Captain, we're receiving transmissions from across Alliance space. News of our victory is spreading fast." Elena nodded, unsurprised. "And the reaction?" "Overwhelmingly positive," replied. "But there's more. We're picking up scattered communications from within Zarlian territory. It seems the destruction of the World Breaker has sparked uprisings on several occupied worlds." This news gave Elena pause. The Alliance had long hoped that their efforts might inspire resistance within the Empire, but the speed at which it was happening was unexpected. "We need to be careful," Elena said, rising from her desk. "The Zarlians will crack down hard on any rebellion. If we can't support these uprisings, we might be condemning those people to brutal reprisals." Tarek's tail swished in agitation. "But we can't ignore this opportunity either. The Empire is vulnerable now in a way it's never been before." "Agreed," Elena said, moving to the viewport. The streaks of hyperspace rushed past as she considered their next move. "Have our intelligence teams start compiling all the information we can on these uprisings. We need to know where they're happening, who's leading them, and what kind of support they might need." She turned back to Tarek. "And get me a secure line to Admiral Chen. We need to coordinate our next steps carefully. The war may have shifted in our favor, but it's far from over." Tarek nodded and left to carry out her orders. Alone once more, Elena returned to her desk, her message to High Command forgotten for the moment. Instead, she pulled up a star chart of known Zarlian territory. As she studied the map, marking potential hotspots for rebellion, Elena felt a mix of hope and apprehension. The next few weeks would be critical. If they could capitalize on this momentum, they might be able to bring a swift end to the war. But one wrong move could undo everything they had accomplished. The weight of command settled heavily on her shoulders. Lives across the galaxy now hung in the balance, dependent on the decisions she and the other Alliance leaders would make. But as daunting as the task ahead seemed, Elena found herself filled with a renewed sense of purpose. They had achieved the impossible once already. With determination, skill, and a little bit of luck, they could do it again. The Defiant continued its journey through hyperspace, carrying with it the hopes of countless beings across the galaxy. The battle was won, but the war for freedom was entering a new, crucial phase, and Captain Elena Reyes was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead.